Oh, yes. Hi. 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 I'm sorry I woke you up. I am cleaning up my studio, and I just finished making 2 mock-ups for a shirt. So I want to make it out of my hand-woven fabric that I finished off, this was a couple weeks ago now. So I threw it in the washing machine. I did not put it in the spin cycle for the first time it went through the washing machine. And then I put it in the dryer for a little while, and I let it finish air drying. I ironed it. Then I put it through the washing machine again on a regular cycle, and then put it through the dryer, ironed it again. The reason for this process is essentially to prevent it from getting permanently pressed wrinkles in the fabric. And that first spin cycle, some people kind of feel like that is what causes it to get those permanent creases in the fabric. So that's that process. I had about 26% shrinkage width-wise on this fabric. And I have been working on trying to figure out what pattern I want to use to make the shirt with this fabric. So that is, the scary part is always cutting into your fabric, right? And so you want to be careful about what you're going to do, and making a mock-up is a great way to make sure that you've got any problems worked out of your pattern, that the pattern you think will be suitable for your hand-woven fabric, all those things. So I wrote myself a note, so I was ready to dive right in. I said, don't be extra, make a mock-up and use an old sheet. And the thing about not being extra was really about, yes, it's extra work to make a whole nother shirt, but it's even more extra if I had cut into that hand-woven fabric first thing. And I learned a lot so far I've made 2 mock-ups. And the first mock-up, I'd cut out all of the fabric. What's this one? This is an old sheet that is worn out. And I cut out all of the fabric in my size, and then I realized that the pattern is written in 3/8 of an inch seams, or 5 centimeter seams. And that was just not going to work for hand-woven fabric. I need a much bigger seam allowance for that. So that was, that would have been a huge, huge problem if I had cut this out. The other thing in the hand-woven fabric, or there were some finishing details, how the pattern called for the pattern to be finished, that I'm really not pleased with. And I went ahead and tried it on this. This is kind of going to be like a work shirt around the house or in the art studio or things like that. So it doesn't really matter in the sense that if it's not perfect, it's not like I'm, going to be wearing this to a fancy ball or something like that. But I tried the finishing techniques that they suggested, and I wasn't thrilled with what I got. So that's mock-up number 1. I do really love the neckline. Sorry about that. I do really love the neckline, how it is that V-neck shape, and the collar are great. And the sleeves being set in sleeves, I think is nice, but they're still really casual. Another thing that's nice for this about hand-woven fabric is that it doesn't have darts. So bust darts accommodate your shape, but they don't always look that great in hand-woven fabric because the fabric is bulkier than what we're used to working with. So the lack of darts and the fact that the shaping is in the sides is really great for a hand-woven. And then the other thing is that the front is pieced in panels, 2 panels, which is great for this narrow width of fabric that I wove. So then I went on and did another mock-up with another old sheet. This time I modified it so that the back had a seam down the back so that, again, I could piece it. And I also modified it to have a yoke in the back. And I thought that that would be really nice, but that brought up some construction problems. So I'm still thinking about what pattern I want to use. I also went ahead and changed one of the construction details, particularly on the sleeve, that part where I wasn't happy with, and I added a button. So it's kind of coming along. I'm getting a sense of this shirt. I added in a larger seam allowance, and I'm still trying to decide if I want to go up a size or not. So that means that I'm probably going to need to do another mock-up, and wondering if I need to go ahead and change the pattern. So I went into my pattern library and I found this is tracing of something that I've done previously, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it on this pattern because it is cut on the fold, so you don't have that pieced together aspect. I could certainly modify the pattern to do that. And it also has some other aspects of it that I wasn't as thrilled with, like it's got the bust dart. And then this pattern is another one that would work. It's got the yoke. It's got some really nice shaping through the body, but the place where it doesn't have what I want is the collar, and it doesn't have sleeves. So I would have to draft sleeves that would fit into this pattern. And you can see the way that I keep track of these is I just tie a piece of the selvage onto whatever, like whatever dress I've made or whatever garment I've made that fabric with. So I have that scrap, so I can just easily look at it and say, oh, it's this dress, or oh, it's that shirt. So that if it's something that I think I'm going to make again, I'll keep it. So I've been kind of going through a stack of patterns and kind of looking to see if there was something I could pull from one of these patterns. And I'm just really on the fence right now. So I really hoped to dive in after this video. I'd actually hoped to be cutting out the actual pattern pieces for this video, but that's just not going to happen today. So I am cleaning up this area because it's definitely gotten a little bit out of hand with the last couple of days of working. Some things that were really helpful when I was sewing the pattern, there's an article in, this is the September 2020 issue of Threads magazine. And there's an article in there called French Seam Refinement. And it walks you through a way to make a French seam that has a side slit. So when you do a French seam, you're making two seams. And the if you have a vent, you need some way to turn the seam around, and it gets kind of tricky. So this article was really helpful. And then I've also been looking through this book, which was on my bookshelf. It's called The Pattern Making Primer. And I'm kind of thinking about other ways that I can deal with a placket. So a placket is a pattern piece that fits in usually around an opening of a garment, usually a neckline, armhole, sometimes around a hem, but usually it's called like a hem facing if it's there. And it especially helps with kind of funky shaping details. And where this shirt has that is at that neckline. So to have these flaps open out, it needs to have a placket. And so that's just an extra layer of fabric that finishes it off. And to be honest, I don't like plackets. Plackets are sort of my nemesis because they flap around. They're kind of hard to get in place correctly. But mostly in terms of wearing them, I feel like it's that constant feeling of like you've got a tag sticking up in your shirt. So I'm trying to work my way around the placket, and maybe I'm wondering if a different kind of placket would be better. And so that's where the pattern making primer has come into play today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and finish cleaning up here, and then I'm going to go have dinner. I'm pretty hungry. I had a really busy day and didn't get a chance to stop for lunch. So if you have any questions, I'll be checking in. We're here both on YouTube and on Instagram. So either place, if you've got a chat, be sure to drop your question, or if you've got a question, be sure to drop it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it before I close out today. Thanks.